This game involves an element of financial risk and may be addictive. Please play responsibly and at your own risk.
Hello and welcome to this special conversation with the COO of the Rajasthan Royals, Jake Lash Makram. And we are seeing perceptible difference in terms of branding, in terms of reach out, in terms of outreach. So clearly something's going right with the Rajasthan Royals, not simply on the pitch, but off the pitch as well. Welcome. First things first, good start. I mean, even the first night you should have crossed the line, came close, but to be able to come back and win the second game despite losing Ben tells me a lot about team morale. So your first thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely, Boyan. Thank you for having me on. I think after the first match, which was an amazing start to the tournament, obviously a challenging ending, but as we've seen, I think the messaging from all individuals involved just shows both the character of the side and the sort of communication between them. If we're talking about that last single that wasn't taken, Sanju spot on saying if he had it 100,000 times more, he'd make the same decision. Chris saying it was the 100% right decision. So the fact is they had that conversation at the start of the over. So, I think just the group sort of morale mentality is really, really positive. Losing that first game, the atmosphere coming back was actually just one of let's praise the positive performance and let's move on and win the next one. And almost setting that example of how we respond to a loss is quite valuable early doors. And then the match a couple of days ago, a very, very strong bowling performance, a little bit of a fragile batting performance at some points in the middle, but brilliant from Morris and Miller to see us through with the Nadcat. I think a momentum changing six in there in the middle. So look, we're really positive in the camp. We've had some really fun team sessions. I think the best team sessions are actually the ones where they're not too organised. They're a bit chaotic. We had a Pictionary game, which was led by Dishant Yagnik, our fielding coach, and Rian Parag. And it was madness, absolute madness. But it was brilliant to get all the different groups together, just have all the teams mixed up. And it was a lot of fun. So look, we've had a lot of this group for 2, 3, 4 years. That chemistry is really built throughout. And the new guys who've joined are awesome. So no, it's going really well.
So before the end of the season, provided the season goes well, which I think it will Rian teach you the Bihu dance?
He's trying. I think some of us aren't quite as limber as him. But I visited Assam after the 2019 season and actually spent some time with his family there. And he was trying to teach it to me then. So I've made a little bit of progress. I think Joffer enjoyed trying it out last season. So hopefully he comes out and can test it out too. But Sangha, I think on one of his first interviews, promised he would learn the Bihu dance at some point this season. So I think that's content everyone wants to see.
Yeah. What is important is 2, 3 things for me. One, by the way, just to let you know that I had actually visited Rian's house when I used to conduct a quiz in Assam, and his mother, Mithu, is actually a good friend of mine. Really? And at that point in time, Rian this was about 7, 8 years back. Anyway, now the thing that has stood out for me, Jake, is take your social media, be it banter with other teams, be it witty posts, use of language, something the Rajasthan Royals are doing which is really catching on. Give me a sense. This whole outreach project of yours, clearly the brand is extending beyond a particular geographical domain. Give me your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I'm pleased you've seen that, and I think the digital team have done brilliant work over the last couple of years. We've invested a lot in this area, both internally and through our agency. So Interactive Avenues, our agency, have done a fantastic job in working with us to build this personality on our social media platforms. I think it's important that both, each platform should have its own personality. So what's on Twitter is different to what's on Instagram and Facebook because you've got different communities on each, different users. And also we create that space that's unique for ourselves. I think if you look back 2, 3 years ago, everyone would have probably said Chennai is the witty Twitter team. Whereas now I think we've actually captured that, that audience. And I think we've done an amazing job. So the balance is not pushing it too far over the line. I think we saw last year how sometimes we went a little bit far, but the great thing was we were able to laugh at ourselves. And I think fans respond really positively to that. So what we've looked to do this year is a bit more is activating some of the sort of different target markets we've got. So using regional language, we've done a whole influencer campaign in Kerala where we've sent jerseys from ourselves and Sanju to some leading individuals, whether it's in Bollywood, music, film, across Kerala, and they've responded really positively. I mean, Kerala doesn't have a team. There's a lot of love for Sanju, and how can we tap into that market? Which, yes, there's a lot of love for football there, but cricket is still a huge sport and event, and I think they're loving having someone to really support and get behind. We've done similar things in Rajasthan and in Assam, which I think are three markets where, we've got a unique ability to target those fans. The IPL is extremely competitive across India. So how can we actually activate in markets which aren't dominated by other teams? How can we build really strong relationships with these fans? And I think that's, yes, there's engaging sort of conversation on Twitter, but it's also the content we produce. How do we produce that really personal content that you see the real personalities of the players the fans can relate to? And again, that just comes with experience with the digital team. It comes with building relationships with the players so they open up, so they trust you, and then they'll be freer with their conversations. I think the Akash Singh and Chetan Sakaria rapid fire was a brilliant one. If you haven't watched it, for me, just being able to read the subtitles and and really understand the amazing personalities of these guys, I think the fans are absolutely loving it. So big kudos to our digital team. I think now our big aim is how do we get all of our fans from our social media platforms onto our app. So we own those conversations, we understand them even more, we can create personalized experiences for them, which is then valuable for ourselves, valuable for the fans because they get better entertainment, and also valuable for partners.
Yeah, I mean, clearly the innovations are working. I mean, for example, I was personally speaking, I was quite taken aback when on Bengali New Year, one of the Twitter posts was in Bangla. And I was like, wow, I mean, this is something very, very interesting. And it actually captured my imagination as well. So congratulations on that. Now, coming to a more critical one, Jake, COVID. I mean, these are gloomy times, 2.5 lakh cases a day. Difficult for the country. How do you keep the atmosphere positive? What are the steps you had taken pre-season going into the season? There were cases in other teams as well. Give me a sense of how you prepared to deal with this particular season.
It is. Look, it is really challenging times, and I think, the one positive of there are many positives of the IPL, but one of the big ones is we hopefully are giving entertainment to all the fans around India who might be in lockdown and stuck at home. So, that's the messaging we've given to our players and staff throughout but we're lucky to be in a position where we can have bubbles and we can create this source of entertainment for everyone. Always remember those less fortunate than us at the moment, and have that in the back of your mind. So when we had our welcome event, messaging from Manoj, the lead owner, Ranjit, myself, we're all along those lines that, for example, when we're sat in the stands as a support staff, management, and players, wearing those masks and actually setting that example to people is really important to us. But in terms of our COVID preparation, we'd built a really sort of tight structured COVID management team from the last tournament. We actually created an almanac at the end of that tournament with all our learnings from it, so we could then bring them across to here. It was a challenging start because there was a lot of cases in Mumbai. It was a different scenario to when we'd gone to Dubai, and so we had to be really, really strict. We actually increase the number of days of quarantine for all our players and hotel staff. Now, when we're about to fly to Delhi in a week's time, our hotel staff are already quarantining now, so they're going to do over 10 days before we get there. So we're going beyond the sort of 7-day limit, which was set by the BCCI, which again, it's a really robust limit, but we want to just go that step further. Within the bubble, we've got our own restaurant. We've got all the staff are, basically fully within the bubble. There's very carefully managed measures in terms of food coming in and how it's left, sanitized, and that process. So it is really, really, really strict. The great thing is the facility we've got here is amazing. You've got the sort of pool, you've got a beautiful team room with a view out. Again, it's creating sort of differentiated activities for players. It can be a bit, if you're getting the same thing day in, day out, it can be draining on you sort of mentally. So we've had, as I said, Pictionary events. We had a barbecue last night. We've had lots of different things, table tennis in the team room, movie nights. So it's all about just keeping the minds of the players stimulated, almost taking them out of their room as well.
That was actually my question, that mentally, how are you keeping them charged? You alluded to it. Was this conscious? I mean, because, this can actually, what you just said, the almanac, what you're talking about, this can become a template for many organizations going forward. I mean, each of us in our own little domains can create such kind of bubbles to keep ourselves positive. So was this, I mean, did you take professional advice, or how did you put this together?
Yeah, so last season we actually had Tata Medical come into our bubble in Dubai, and they spent half of the season there to create this almanac with us. So they were brilliant at flagging areas of potential risk. So then when we look to the next season, we could say, okay, so here are the areas that, you know, you can face challenges. How do we address these and make them as safe as possible? So that's really helped in then creating our plan for this year. We've got our team doctor, Dr. Rob Young, who was also the ECB doctor. So he's been in bubbles for the last 2 years, seeing what works and doesn't work, both from a safety standpoint, but as you say, also from a mental well-being standpoint. And how do you keep the players mentally fresh and engaged has been a really, really big focus. We're only 2.5 weeks in at the moment, 3 weeks in, but that is always on our minds, is how do we keep them engaged, motivated, and give them the flexibility. So we've got a remote psychological support resource that if any player is having challenges that they want to talk to someone about, that is there and available for them. We've got, you know, various individuals in-house who can help up to a level, but we have that remote resource if they want to use it. And yeah, it's just about, you know, listening to the players, asking them what they want and what they need, and being flexible around that. So we've had a really, really good balance so far. The team's in a great space. We've actually got Josh's family's here, so Louise and Georgia Rose, who's a little 2-year-old, and she's actually she's so positive for the mental well-being of the group, because you spend 15 minutes with a little baby and you know, they've got no care in the world, and it is actually quite refreshing and has benefited, I think, all players and staff. So all these little things sort of combine together, and we just want to, at the end of this bubble, again, share all these learnings so that other sports around the world can help and create safe structures.
Fascinating. I mean, I also enjoyed the documentary that you all had done, because sort of, again, I mean, a lot of these documentaries are now happening in our space, and being an academic, sort of, it always helps me. It's kind of an ethnography and kind of an anthropological study into a lot of things. Wonder why, do you also have plans of writing it out in terms of the Rajasthan Royals story at some point in time? Because it will be when practitioners talk to academics, real research is produced. So will at any point in time the story be written also, or will you only focus on the documentary for a period?
Honestly, I think it's a good question. I'm not sure at the moment. I think there's a lot of, as you alluded to, there's a lot of amazing stories from our franchise over the years. Manoj Badali, our lead owners, just released a book on the business of sport. So again, that actually tells many of the stories and relates them back to business, and is that combination of academic and storytelling as well. So I think that's a great start for anyone who does want to understand the complexities of the IPL, sport as a business, and where we envision it getting to. I think with regards to COVID, we have created this almanac, which again, we hope to get to a point where we can share it with others to share our learnings. And we're always looking to tell stories in different ways that fans can engage with them. So, you know, video content's obviously huge at the moment. We've got a podcast series as well, but written's another form that really engaging. I'm reading your book at the moment about 11 men and a billion fans, and it's fascinating for me to see the history of Indian cricket, and I'm sure there's millions others who would quite like to understand the depth of an IPL franchise.
Yeah, I mean, to sort of know the Chetan Sakaria story. I mean, that is the real story of India. You know, what it takes to become a cricketer, and how this game is actually our secular religion. I mean, this country has too many divisive tendencies to it, but there is also a Chetan Sakaria. There is also a Sanju Samson. There is also this game which unites us and brings smiles every evening. There is no night curfew that needs to be imposed. We will anyway sit at home and consume this tournament. That is the positive of the IPL. Tell me something, Jake. I mean, when you head a brand or want to develop that brand, there's obviously the Chennai Super Kings or the Mumbai Indians, or even the Kolkata Knight Riders. You know, there is a lot more investment that has gone in over the years in terms of how do you position the Rajasthan Royals brand in terms of the overall IPL ecosystem?
It's another good question. I think relating back to your last point on Chetan, I think our vision as the Royals is bigger than the IPL. Our vision is to transform society through cricket.
Absolutely.
And that in itself is how we look to differentiate ourselves as a brand. So Chetan's story is an amazing one. It's a seriously tough journey he's been on, but again, the contract that we give him at the Royals, it doesn't just impact him, doesn't just impact his family, it impacts his whole community. And that impact and the multiplier effect of that impact is why the IPL is such an amazing event to be a part of, and it's why I'm proud to work for the Royals and proud of the impact we achieve. And so that positioning, so if you say, where are we positioning ourselves? Digital, we talked about, we want to be that cheeky team. We're able to laugh at ourselves, we're able to have banter, but we'll be innovative in that content. With regards to more broader, we want our foundation and that transforming society to be integrated so deeply with us as a franchise. So we've done amazing work around women empowerment in Rajasthan. We had the partnership with Nine, which continues through to this year, around menstrual hygiene and tackling those taboos. So in terms of broader, if in 3 years, when everyone thinks the Royals, they immediately think this team has had a huge impact on women empowerment, I think that's successful in itself. I think otherwise, yes, we want to be driving innovation in cricket. And so, whether it's our use of technology like straight bat, like right eye for our vision tech, or even Rian Parag bowling his self-acclaimed submarine ball. I think the ways in which we play the game, the ways in which we approach the game, approach the auction, we want to be that differentiated team who is driving innovation, who's driving new thought. And again, success in that frame for me is teams in the US and the UK in 3 years' time coming to us and saying, how did you do that? How are you achieving this? How are you doing things differently? At the moment, we look over to the US and say, what can we learn? If in 3 years we can actually be leading the way, that is success. And I think that's digitally, we're coming through. We've got the best content. We've got the best engagement on our social media platforms. Playing wise, we're starting to build that brand of cricket, which will come across this year. And then more societally, that impact we can have and that link to women empowerment, whether it's our jersey, having the emotives being driven by our foundation, whether it's our bus, having With Her We Rise on it and having our own foundation bus. Every stage of our, sort of branding elements, linking back to the foundation, I think is really powerful. And the fans have responded really positively to that.
Last one. I mean, it's been a really, really good chat. I mean, not always will I say that because I've enjoyed this. I mean, the last one is, after the first season, you've come close, but it's been tough as well. How do you keep it going? And here I think of the Chicago Bulls story. I mean, 1908 to 2016, you don't win a championship, but every year Wrigley Field is full. So they did something right, because that level of fan engagement, there is far more to sport than simply winning and losing. So yes, obviously you have created a team that can win, but what is the philosophy? Is it, you've just outlined it to me in a manner, but this season, taking the hit, no Chopra, at least for a period, no Ben. Are you guys still as positive at the start of the tournament to sort of say that this is our year?
I think, look, at the start of the season, I think we didn't say this is our year. I think what we said was we're going to play a brand of, fearless, exciting cricket, and we believe we can beat any team in this competition. If you look at Mumbai, who've won, the most amount of trophies and performed best in recent times, we've got a 5-6 record against them. So, our team has that confidence within it. Whoever's playing, I think, we didn't have Ben last game, as you said, and we won. We've invested in our other international players, having the likes of Andrew Ty, ex-Purple Cap winner, not even playing yesterday. Mustafa Azur bowling incredibly well. So, look, we're confident in this structure. Going back to your initial question on sort of over the 13, 14 years, I think there's been various stages. So year one it was new to everyone. Yes, we were the underdogs and we won the trophy. For the next 8-9 years, it was a different tournament in the sense that as a franchise, we were the Moneyball team. We were trying to build a team at a lower cost to compete. It wasn't we're going to spend our full budget to win. Whereas now, since 2018, it's been, we are profitable as franchises. We're willing to spend it all. We still believe we've got a competitive advantage with our auction process, with our analytics, that the last 3 seasons, we've still spent the second least, and we think built really good teams. However, we're willing to spend it all. we've invested significant amounts in some key players in the last few seasons. So that mindset's changed. So now, the targets are at minimum the playoffs every year. So last year was obviously a failure. But that's how we look at it. We have to make the playoffs, and then in the playoffs it's 50-50 every match, and you hope you can have that competitive advantage to win. So I think the fans have been amazing. We had to relaunch in 2018, and over the last 3 years we've been playing catch up, I'd say, to the other franchises who've had those couple of years to continue progressing. Now I think we're trying to start to get beyond, especially in the digital space, especially in terms of fan engagement. So if we can continue to lead the way there, I think that will help us with success off the field. And then on it, again, we're starting to build that structure now, which we think can deliver long-term success, with Sangha leading the cricket structure and Sanju as captain.
Absolutely. And I think having known Sangha, he launched 11 Gods and a Billion Indians in London, by the way. Sangha, along with Clive Lloyd, Harbhajan Singh, Saurav Ganguly, and a host of others launched it. And I asked him, I'll send you a car to get you picked up. He said, you are not from London, you're from Calcutta. I live here. I will come and I'll take the underground. So that's Sangha. And he and I, we are on WhatsApp very regularly, even day before. So I know he's a very good choice. But you know what, Jake? I started out this interview thinking, I'm actually talking to a sports manager or a pedigreed sports manager. I end this interview saying I was talking to a thought leader. It's impressive. I mean, the philosophy of the Rajasthan Royals, this is what it is. Then the Royals will absolutely mark out a niche in the overall sporting ecosystem in the world. And having taught sport around the world, I can tell you that. Very impressive. Well done. I hope you have a great season, both on and off the field. There will be every possible media support coming your way, because what you're trying to do is societal change. And that's what sport is all about. Ultimately, it's not simply winning and losing or records broken. It is about touching lives, touching hearts. That's what you guys are doing. So every support to you. Wish you all the very best. Take care, stay safe, and be role models.
Thank you, Barry. I really appreciate it. Enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. Take care. Bye.